Would you pray with me, please? Oh God, what a wonderful day, and how appropriate it is that as we talk about you being the light, that in this dreary week of nothing but rain and clouds, you broke through this one. Help us to see that light in new and wonderful ways this day. May your Holy Spirit be mighty in this place. And may it touch our hearts and our souls and make us your children better than we were when we walked in. Dear Jesus, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. When I was the police chief, I told somebody this morning I can't do it now because, thank you, Jesus, I was delivered from that nasty habit. But when I got a writer's block, when I was working on a grant or a report or a paper, I would go out and pace the rear of the police station while I smoked a cigarette. And by the time I was done, usually I had the answer. Now I have come up with a new way. I surf the web for pictures that pertain to what I want to preach about. And this was one of those weeks where when I sit down at the computer after I did my studying and my thinking and my praying, it just wasn't coming. Something was not working right in my head. So I got on and I started surfing the web. Not like the kids do up there with Days of Elijah, because I hurt myself. But with a mouse and a computer screen, I typed in lighthouses because it seemed to be appropriate to the theme that I was going to talk about today. And as I contemplated the symbolism of how the lighthouses spoke to who do you say that I am, the juices did start to flow, and it started to work. I found this one really neat picture that spoke to me. Pat texted me during the week and says, "Where's that picture?" I don't even know how I got there. So she came up with as close as she could based on my description. But there was one that really struck a chord with me. As I looked at the picture, I saw this majestic lighthouse standing up on the pinnacle of the cliff, and you could see the windows where the light would shine out to save the ships at sea. And at the base were rocks. Rock upon rock upon rock, all around the bottom of it. But that makes sense, because isn't that why the lighthouse is there, to keep us from running into the rocks? But that's not what really drew my attention. Because I am fully aware that the shores are full of rocks and other hazards, and that boats did crash in the darkness, and many lives were lost over the years, and that's why the lighthouses came into being. But as I looked at that picture on my screen, I saw a rickety wooden pier coming down the side. You know those old pictures that comes down like off the side of the mountain and out into the waterway. I mean, this thing looked so bad that I wouldn't even have went out on it to go fishing. Afraid that my weight probably would have taken me down upon the rocks or into the water. But at the bottom, it was at the end of that pier that really caught my attention. At the end of that pier was a one-person wooden boat. You couldn't have got more than one person in it. That's all it would have handled. But in that vast ocean, along all those rocks, below that lighthouse, was that little one-man boat. And it was at that moment that that lighthouse scene got personal to me. It was at that moment that I realized that not only were those lighthouses meant to save the large boats filled full of hundreds of people, but it was also meant to save that one life in that one individual boat. That to the lighthouse, it was there for all of them. Anybody that needed the light could be saved. And that really spoke to me. And it really deepened my faith because it spoke to where I wanted to go this morning. Let me explain. In art and literature, Jesus has been compared numerous times, has he not, to lighthouses. This is a famous painting. I've tried to remember between services, but the artist is right on the end of my tongue, but I can't for the life of me remember who it is. Anybody know?
Kincaid? Thomas Kincaid?
No, that was not Kincaid. There's another guy that has done a lot of religious work. Anyway, if it comes to me in the middle of sermon, which sometimes it does, I'll stop and we'll chase the squirrel. But Jesus is portrayed a lot with that light. It's become a symbol of who he is and what he does. And you heard the reading of the scripture this morning from the book of Isaiah, which we use at Christmas time. And we read that a couple of years ago on Christmas Eve, that the light has broken into the darkness, and the darkness shall never extinguish it, and it will shine on everybody. And I proclaimed from this very pulpit on that night that we needed to be the light of this community. And we have been following that theme ever since. We've been coming up with ways to do that. Matter of fact, I'm guessing the Sunday school class that meets in the nursery by now is tired of me always asking the same question when they get done with the discussion. Well, yeah, but what are we going to do about it? How do we as Christians react to whatever it is we were talking about on that particular day? How can we change society? How can we be the light of Jesus Christ in a dark and broken world? Isn't that the big question? And isn't that what we're supposed to do? Remember the Christmas story? Not according to Isaiah, but according to John. He doesn't talk about mangers. He doesn't talk about shepherds. He doesn't talk about angels. He says this. He existed in the beginning with God. God created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him. I'm getting a vibration. Is that better? Okay, thank you.
She's Danny Howell.
Danny what?
Howell.
Howell, thank you. Danny Howell is the artist, just in case any of you wonder, how come my artist didn't know that? Just happened to think. He existed in the beginning with God. God created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him. The Word gave life to everything that was created, and his life brought light to everyone. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. That's how the Apostle John told the Christmas story. It wasn't about stables or anything else. It was about a light that was coming into the world to answer the prophecy of the prophet Isaiah. Behold, that light has broken into the darkness and shall never go away. We can't stop it. We can ignore it. We can put a blindfold on, but we can't stop it, can we? Our faith deepens when we realize what boat we're in. When we think about this image of Jesus being a lighthouse and standing amid the rocks of life to guide us to safety, we somehow get this image that we're all in one boat. Oh, I thought something was wrong. You looked up there like, you guys are scaring me today. We do that. We get this image that we're all in the same boat, and the captain is steering us onward. I would love if my job was that easy. If I could throw you all in one boat and safely get you to the harbor of heaven, how easy would that be? But the truth is, that's not what's going on. The truth is, we are all in those individual one-man boats, rowing for our lives through the rough seas of this society and this existence. to get where we're going. Now, we travel like one big boat. It's nice that all of our little boats come together. Maybe you're reaching out and holding on to the side of somebody else's for support or to support them. I don't know. But you're still, when it comes down to it, are in that one boat by yourself. You're the captain, and where you go is up to you. The light is a personal beacon. It shines for all. But each and every one of us must decide to follow it to safety or veer off course and hit the rocks. It's your choice. And that's what this morning's scripture lesson is about. As we continue in our Lent series of answering the question Jesus asked of who do you say that I am, the next I am saying of Jesus is taken from the 8th chapter of the book of John, who says, Jesus spoke to the people once more and said, I am the light of the world. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in darkness, because you will have the light that leads to life. The Pharisees replied, you are making those claims about yourself. Such testimony is not valid. Jesus told them, these claims are valid even though I make them about myself. For I know where I'm coming from and where I'm going. But you don't know this about me. You judge me by human standards, but I do not judge anyone. And if I did, my judgment would be correct in every respect, because I am not alone. The Father who sent me is with me. Your own law says that if two people agree about something, their witness is accepted as fact. I am one witness, and my Father who sent me is the other. Where is your Father, they asked. Jesus answered, since you don't know who I am, you don't know who my Father is. If you knew me, you would also know my Father. That passage follows right behind the one of the woman caught in adultery. Remember that story? The woman is pulled in the middle of a crowd. Jesus is teaching. He's sitting on the town square, and he's surrounded by all kinds of people, and they drag this poor woman through the middle of them all. I'd be a little embarrassed, I think. Plops her down in front of Jesus and says, because it's a trap for Jesus, the law of the Jewish people given by Moses said, if you are caught in adultery, you shall be taken out and stoned to death. Pretty simple, straightforward, no ifs, ands, buts. You're going to get stoned. And they expect Jesus, because of the compassion that he has shown others, because of his teachings on love, etc., they're expecting him to say, well, no, you can't do that. And just when you think you got Jesus figured out, he says, yeah, go ahead. You're right, that's what the law says. Kill her. I'd like to think that somewhere in that conversation he said, like, where's the guy? Because the same penalty was supposed to be towards him, but we don't see that, do we? Unfairness didn't start with this generation, folks. It's been around for thousands of years. But anyhow, he says, go ahead. You're right. That's exactly what the law says. But then he added that little piece. Let the one of you that has no sin be the first one to chuck the rock. Whichever one of you is sinless, you just go ahead and do it. Someday I want to preach just on that passage. And when I do, you're going to see a bunch of big rocks. I'll have Ron bring a dump truck from the field. Because I just envision this woman cowering, waiting for the first rock to hit her. And instead she hears thud, 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 as the rocks hit the dirt. I'm going to preach that. I won't do it now for a while, because now you know what I'm going to do. But imagine the sound that those hitting the stage would make. And imagine what she heard that day. And then she saw some light. When she didn't feel the rock. And instead, Jesus said, where'd they all go? Did any of them condemn you? And she said, no, Lord, not even one. Jesus said, neither do I. Go and sin no more. Every man that had drug her downtown wanted her to die. Every man that drug her downtown or was watching from that crowd knew that she deserved it. And yet, the great light shined into her life and didn't let it happen, and didn't condemn her for her past, but showed her a way forward. Go and sin no more. I'll make a good sermon Sunday morning. You can't steal it. It's mine. But after he got done with that woman, he turns to the crowd and says, Jesus spoke to the people once more and said, I am the light of the world. Me. I'm here to show you the same thing I just showed that lady. I'm here to show you a better way to live. I'm here to show you a way out of all that sin that you've been in. Because not only did the Pharisees and those men weren't without sin, neither any of you. I'm the light. I'm the light of the world. I was sent here for a reason, to shine into the darkness so that you could find your way out of it. Me. Not the Pharisees, not the church. Jesus Christ, the Messiah, said, I am the light. Notice as he says that, he's speaking to the entire crowd. He's talking to, he doesn't exclude anyone. It's to the religious leaders. I got news for you. Although he took them to task, he would have been very happy if the Pharisees would have come to their senses and followed him. He didn't want anybody to be lost. He talked to the religious leaders. He was talking to the tax collectors. He was talking to the thieves and the women who also were engaged in the oldest profession known to man. He was talking to fishermen. He was talking to the common people that had nothing to do except go home and cook supper. He was talking to all of them, and he was telling all of them the same thing. I am the light. Follow me. Well, he might have secretly hoped that the Pharisees would get it, but guess what? Because they say, well, wait a minute. The law says that you must have 2 witnesses before any of your testimony can be believed. And he could never say this, or maybe he could, but I just imagine Jesus sometimes wanted to say, hey, stupid, I'm right here. And if he said it, they didn't record it. But can you imagine what his heart does when this kind of stuff happens? When he wants even the Pharisees, and we know that Nicodemus turned from not believing to believing. Can you imagine how his heart broke when he's saying that? I'm right in front of you. I'm trying to tell you, and you won't listen. You're never going to get this chance again. And instead, they get hung up on, well, you must have 2 witnesses. And I like his answer to this one. Well, let's see, you got God and the Son of God. I'm pretty sure those will trump any witnesses you got. And yet, they didn't believe. I'd like to think that there were a lot of other people in the crowd that day that looked toward the lighthouse and changed their course. There's a story I also found when I was flipping through the computer about a newly commissioned Navy commander. Gave his first command in charge of a battleship. And the story said that he was cutting through the waves one night in total darkness, and he sees this light dead ahead coming right at him. So he has the corpsman go up on the front of the ship and flash the signal telling them, adjust your course 10 degrees to the south. And the signal comes back from the other ship, Or what he thought was a ship that says, no, you adjust yours 10 degrees to the north. Well, you know, this young pup was all new and had got his uniform all pressed and spiffy, and he wasn't going to back down. He thought he was, a cup of coffee and all that. And he says to Corbin, sent back, you tell him that this is a United States Navy ship, and I'm the captain of that ship, and he needs to alter his course. The Corbin sent it and immediately got back the reply, no, I'm the lighthouse. You probably ought to alter yours. How many times do we go through life where we take that kind of an attitude, where we think, I don't really care where the right course is. I'm in charge. You know, I'm an American. I got that wonderful ingenuity. I got willpower. I am all that and a cup of coffee too. And we just set out with a darn torpedoes full speed ahead attitude, even though it's the wrong direction. And then we can't understand why we crash on the rocks. I can figure it out. Can you? If I'm not following the light, I'm going to crash. It's just that simple. Our battle cry is, I have my rights and I'll do it my way. Well, America, how's that working for you? How's that working for you? So my question for you is pretty simple. Whose course are you on? As you travel through life and you're buffeted by the gale force winds and the large waves, where do you look to for guidance? As you travel the seas of life and you face the rocks of worry and illness and stress and depression, self-pity, insecurity, temptation, where do you fix your eyes to get safe passage? We have a guiding light that will help us navigate through the reefs, the rocks, and the rough seas. We just have to focus on that light. We have to follow that light. And when we do, our voyage will be safe. Nowhere in the Bible, nowhere will you find a passage that tells you that you won't face rocks in your life. What you will find are numerous passages that says that the light will guide you and get you around, through, and over the rocks that you face in life. I knew long ago that one of the answers to our Lenten question was that Jesus was the light of the world. But this little piece of art pointed out to me how personal that light is and how brightly it shines. My faith took another step when I looked at this little boat. And I realized that such a vessel would have absolutely no chance of surviving any kind of a storm, and on the open seas it would have surely capsized and its passenger would surely drown and die. Yet here it is, tied up at the pier that leads to the lighthouse. It's this image that's solidified in my mind that I am an unworthy vessel on the sea of life, and the only hope I have to make it to the dock safely is to follow the light that's attached to that dock. I have to make it, and need you there also. God sent His Son to be the light of the entire world, but we make it to heaven one boat at a time. One personal relationship to Jesus Christ at a time. So who is Jesus? He's the light that keeps my head above water in this life and above the clouds in the